Hello and welcome to another Tunisian crochet tutorial. So today we will be talking about how to make this Tunisian crossed basket weave cowl. So this is beginner friendly pattern that I've used two different colors for with various stitch patterns. So first things first, this is cowl which is worked in rows. This worked flat as a rectangle, which is then seamed at the end. So you can see the seam on the inside of the project, and it looks quite neat on the outside as well. So I've used a variety of basic stitches that I will be demonstrating to you in a moment. As in my previous pattern, I'm going to talk about the pattern in concept rather than showing you how to make it row by row. I'm sure you'll be at the end, you will be clear on how to make your own version of the cowl. So the final size is about 66 by 20 centimeters or 26 by 8 inches. And for this project I used Drops Air. So this is amazing yarn which comes in 50-gram balls, and it's a mixed fiber. It's got a mix of natural and synthetic fibers. So this one is 65% alpaca, 28% polyamide, and 70% wool. So it depends on your preference. If you prefer just natural fibers, I would probably just go for a combination of alpaca wool. Sometimes you might find a combination of alpaca wool and cotton as well. So the reason why I picked this yarn is because it has got really nice, lovely halo. The alpaca makes the project nice and cozy. So this is, even though we are in the middle of heat wave in the UK, this is a great fall project. So you can start working on it and have it ready for September in a few weeks' time. And for this project I use one ball in red brick, so that's this color, and one ball in moss green, and in total that's about 66 grams. So you will use less than one ball of each, and you will need 6mm Tunisian crochet hook with short extension. I used about 16-inch extension, and tapestry needle and scissors. So as you can see, for this project I used a variety of stitches. So we start with a ribbing. This was combination of Tunisian purl and Tunisian knit stitch. Then I move on to the basket weave, a pattern in the red, which is combination of Tunisian purl and Tunisian knit stitch. Then this beautiful middle section, which is Tunisian cross stitch. So where you work cross the stitch pattern is worked over 2 stitches, then back to the basket weave and the ribbing at the top, and then the bind off. Okay, so as you can see, in just one project you learn a variety of different stitches, but don't worry if you are a complete beginner in Tunisian crochet. I'm going to show you each stitch and each of the techniques, so you surely will be able to make your own version of the cowl. So for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using Starcraft Special Aran weight paired with 6mm Tunisian crochet hook. So I'm going to make a smaller multiple than it is in the pattern, so you're able to follow along as you are working on your own cowls. Just to start with, we will make a slip knot, and if you are following the pattern exactly as it is to the T, you will then you will make the slip knot in color A, which is the moss green, and you will chain 95. I'm going to make a smaller multiple, so I'm going to chain slightly less. So to chain, you will yarn over and pull through. Let's chain 1, then yarn over, pull through again, yarn over, pull through, and so on. You will keep on going until you have 95 chains. So I'm going to make a small multiple, and I see you back for row number 1. Once you've got your chains, you will then turn your chain around and you will work into the back bump of your chain stitches. You will insert the hook from front to back, yarn over and pull up a loop. To the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and you will keep on going until you work into all of your chains, all of your foundation chains, including the very last one. Once you have all of your loops on the hook, make sure that you check your count. You will need to have 95 loops on your hook, and this is very important for the stitch multiple to work, because we are combining 3 different stitch patterns, so we need to make sure that the multiple is working for us. So this is also known as the forward pass in Tunisian crochet, and that's when we are adding our loops on the hook. Now we're going to follow with the return pass, and that's where we are going to work those loops off our hook. So the return pass for this project is the standard return pass, which will be all the same for all rows except for the bind off row. So we will first yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2, and then you'll keep on going with yarn over, pull through 2 all across the row. And this is your row number 1, also known as the foundation row in Tunisian crochet. And after this we will start working the first stitch pattern. Okay, so to start with, we will start working the ribbing. So we are on this section of the pattern here. So first we are going to work Tunisian purl stitch, followed by 2 Tunisian knit stitches. So to work Tunisian purl stitch, you will need to bring the yarn to the front of the hook, insert the hook from right to left under the front vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then Tunisian knit stitch. So Tunisian knit stitch is worked between the 2 legs of the vertical bar. So this is one at the front, so that's the front vertical bar, and there is one at the back, and that's the back vertical bar. So you want to go in between these from front to back, yarn over and pull up a loop. And again, Tunisian knit, followed by Tunisian purl, 2 Tunisian knit stitches, purl, and so on. So you will keep on going across the row to the very last stitch, and there will be the end stitch. Okay, once you are at the end, we will work the end stitch, and end stitch is worked slightly differently. It is worked under the last 2 strands of yarn. So while previously we worked in between the strands of yarn or under one, the end stitch is worked under 2 strands of yarn, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then this is followed by standard return pass. So yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 across the row. Once you finish row number 2, the row number 3 will be a repetition of row number 2, and then row number 4 is also a repetition of row number 2. So you will work 2 more rows where you alternate 1 Tunisian purl stitch and 2 Tunisian knit stitches, and then on the last yarn over, pull through 2 of the return pass row number 4, you will change to your color B. So in this pattern, this is the red brick color. So again, once you will be on the last yarn over, pull through 2 of the row number 4, you will then change to the color B. So this is how I like to do it. I've got last 2 loops on my hook. I will then get the other color, place the loop on the hook and pull through like so, and then I wrap the working end of the yarn around the other 2 strands of yarn, just to kind of keep it in place, and then I would start working with the next color for the following row. So the following row, which will for you be row number 5, is where we start working the basket weave stitch pattern. So this will be working, we'll start the row by working 4 Tunisian knit stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, followed by 5 Tunisian purl stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. After which you will work a stitch pattern repeat, which is 5 Tunisian knit stitches followed by 5 Tunisian purl stitches across the row until you get to the last 5 stitches. You will then work 4 Tunisian knit stitches and an end stitch. Okay, and this is the reason why we have a slightly different numbers at the beginning and the end of the row, is because we still have end stitches, edge stitches rather. So we've got the right edge stitch, which is 1, and then we've got 1 on the left, which is the end stitch. So those 2 stitches will kind of add up to the correct multiple. So you've got the edges will be even out. You wouldn't have an extra stitch creating kind of like a bigger gap in the stitch pattern. So once you've got the seam here, you will see that those sections are not wider because of that extra stitches. So I'm going to let you to go ahead, work row number 5, and then rows 6 to 8 will be repetitions of row number 5. Now for row number 9, we will swap the order of the stitches. So while in row number 5 we started with Tunisian knit stitches, this row number 9 will start with 4 Tunisian purl stitches followed by 5 Tunisian knit stitches, and then the stitch pattern across the row will be 5 Tunisian purl stitches followed by 5 Tunisian knit stitches across the row up to the last 5 stitches, and then you will work 4 Tunisian purl stitches followed by an end stitch. After you finish row number 9, rows 10, 11 and 12 will be repetition of row number 9. So this is this section here where we've got the different stitches sitting on top of each other, creating that basket weave stitch pattern. So after row number 12, you will then work the central section, which is the lattice section. So as you will be working at the return pass of row number 12, and you will again get to the last 2 loops on the hook, you will yarn over, change back to color A. So we are in this section, we are changing back to the moss green. You will change back to A, and then the row number 13 will be in color A. So I'm back to color A. So let's imagine that we are now on row number 13, which is amazing because you're almost halfway through your project now. So the first row, just to set up for the stitch pattern, is we will work Tunisian simple stitch across. So we haven't done Tunisian simple stitch in this stitch pattern yet. So Tunisian simple stitch is worked by inserting the hook from right to left, yarn over and pull up a loop again, and you are inserting the hook under the front vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. The next one, yarn over, pull up a loop. Next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and so on. And you keep on going until the last stitch. You will work an end stitch and then standard return pass. Now we are on row number 14. So this is the first row of the 2-row stitch pattern. repeat for the lattice stitch. So we are going to be working 2 Tunisian single stitches together. So to do this, you will go with your hook under the next 2 front vertical bars, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, like so. And then you will go back to the first stitch and work Tunisian simple stitch. So we're going back and work Tunisian simple stitch into the first stitch, like so. Okay, the next one we will work 2 Tunisian simple stitches together, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then back to the first one, like so, and again to the next. So what we essentially doing, we are decreasing and then adding an extra stitch to maintain the stitch pattern. So you will work this across the row until you have last 2 stitches. You will work Tunisian simple stitch and an end stitch. So I'm right at the end now. We will work a Tunisian simple stitch and an end stitch, followed by standard return pass. For row number 15, we will offset the stitch pattern. So we will start with a Tunisian simple stitch first, and then work the 2 Tunisian simple stitches together, yarn over, pull up a loop, and work Tunisian simple stitch into the first stitch of the 2 Tunisian simple stitches together. So again, 2 Tunisian simple stitches together, then go back and work Tunisian simple stitch, like so. And you will keep on repeating the stitch pattern all the way across the row to the last stitch, and we will then work an end stitch and standard return pass. For row number 16, you will repeat row number 14, and on the return pass of row number 16, you will change again to color B. So this will be this part of the stitch pattern where here, this part of the stitch pattern where we are back to the red brick color. For rows number 17 to 24, we'll be repeating rows 5 to 12. So you will be repeating the basket weave stitch pattern. Then at the end of row number 24, you will then change back to your green moss for the final stitch pattern or final section of the cowl, where we will be working the ribbing again. So this will be rows number 25 to 28, and this will be the repetition of row number 2. So we'll be alternating Tunisian purl stitch with 2 Tunisian knit stitches. And then row number 29 is a bind off. Okay, so bind off can be worked in 2 different ways. So in the pattern, because it's a beginner friendly pattern, in the instructions I simply suggested that you would use the Tunisian simple stitch bind off. So to work Tunisian simple stitch bind off, you will go into the stitch as for Tunisian simple stitch. So you will insert the hook from right to left, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop already on the hook. And you will do that for the next one, and so on, all the way across the top of your project, including the end stitch. So you will bind off the end stitch as well. Now I like to give my viewers options. So another option is to work a stitch pattern bind off. To do the stitch pattern bind off, you will follow the stitch pattern of the previous row, except for you will also bind off the stitches. So in the previous row, that's where we worked the ribbing. So we started with Tunisian purl stitch. So you will work Tunisian purl stitch in the first stitch and then pull through the loop on the hook. Then there will be a Tunisian knit stitch, pull through the loop on the hook, and Tunisian knit stitch again, and then back to Tunisian purl stitch. The advantage of binding off in the pattern is that you will maintain the stitch pattern all the way across, right up to the edge of your project. So if this is something that you like to do because it's visually more pleasing to you, please go ahead and do that. If you look at the project very closely, even though the yarn is quite fluffy, so it kind of hides away the stitches on the last row, you can see that I worked Tunisian simple stitch bind off. So the last row under that edge looks as if it was a row of Tunisian simple stitches, even though I actually worked the stitch pattern of Tunisian purl and Tunisian knit stitches. I worked the ribbing in the row below, but because of the bind off, that kind of masked the last row as simple Tunisian simple stitch. As you can see, the top edge looks very similar to the bottom, so they match nicely. Another alternation that you can do if you prefer is, if you prefer to have your ribbing a little bit tighter, kind of pulling the project in on both sides of your project, on the bottom and top, you can go size down on your hook for your ribbing. So what you would do is you will work the first few rows and the last few rows where you've got the ribbing pattern in 5.5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, or even 5. The difference between ribbing in Tunisian crochet and knitting is that in Tunisian crochet the ribbing is not stretchy, it's not flexible, so you can see that it doesn't really give in. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Tunisian crochet tutorial. As always, the pattern is in full on my blog, so I'm going to link that in the description box below, and you can get the pattern also in my Ravelry and Lovecraft shops. So thank you very much for your support. I always appreciate your kind comments and suggestions, and I see you in the next video tutorial. Bye bye.